morning and welcome to the MarshStream, your solo performance broadcasting platform. I'm Kristen Scheel from the Marsh, and I'd like to welcome you to Solo Arts Heal with Gail Schickley. The Marsh brings you free programming every night of the week. Please support our performers and live theater by contributing to our Marsh tip jar, which will be linked to the chat throughout the evening. We'd like to welcome our YouTube viewers as well, and if you haven't already, please become a subscriber of our channel, the MarshStream, to be notified of shows as they go live. Now, please join me in welcoming Gail Schickley, host of Solo Arts Heal.
Thanks, Kristen. And thanks to the Marsh and the MarshStream for offering such a diverse public performance broadcast platform for the enjoyment and benefit of communities everywhere. Tonight, we welcome Bay Area treasure Unique Derique, also known as Lance McGee, with excerpts from his show Foo La La, Home for the Holidays. That's DAZE, a state many of us are in during this pandemic. His show Foo La La has played annually at the Marsh since 2015, with a different twist to each year's version, which we'll get to enjoy. This season, his zany at-home virtual holiday celebration proves that being apart doesn't mean we can't have fun together. And for those of you with kids and for the kid inside you, there will be a special MarshStream solo performance spotlight streaming the full performance of this show on Sunday, December 27th at 2 p.m. with proceeds to benefit the Marsh. We couldn't be celebrating the holidays with anyone better than Lance McGee, who, when not entertaining all ages with his alter ego, Unique Derique, may be found lending a hand to Oakland middle schools as a trauma-informed wellness consultant and mindfulness coach, which we'll talk about after his performance. And as always, we encourage questions from the audience. Before I introduce our guest, let me tell you a bit about Solo Arts Heal, which began as a collective of solo artists whose shows embody the healing power of the arts through terrific storytelling as survivors and caregivers across a variety of physical and mental challenges. We were working together to find our audience when the pandemic hit, and we found you, because the truth is our audience isn't only in medical centers and health and wellness clinics. Our audience is every community, because we all, I dare say, enjoy mental and physical challenges. And we all need resources. So what better way to receive information than through great performance? Well, thanks to the insight and invitation from Marsh Artistic Director Stephanie Weissman, creating the MarshStream platform, each week we're able to present to you performance and informants on a broad variety of health and wellness-related issues. And for us, that includes environmental and social justice challenges as we work together to create a country and a world that honors all people and our Mother Earth. Solo Art Heal addresses and embraces the power of community and the healing power of the arts. Now, let me tell you about our featured guest tonight. Bay Area favorite Unique Derique, also known as Lance McGee, utilizes his dual careers to merge the performing arts and healing with the belief that the world can be a brighter place one breath and one laugh at a time. By day, Lance is a wellness consultant, a mindfulness coach who leads trainings to healthcare professionals, teaching artists and educators and staff at universities and Bay Area schools. As Unique Derique, he has traveled throughout the world with his unique blend of physical comedy and Hambone body percussion. Please join me now in welcoming him with an excerpt from his at-home virtual holiday celebration, Foo La La, Home for the Holidays. Please welcome Lance McGee, aka Unique Derique.
Oh yeah! Whoa. Hey, welcome to my show, Foo La La, Home for the Holidays. In my living room, and wherever you are. Yeah. Hey, before we get started, I just want to say that it's so different making a connection on the computer, on the video camera. Yeah, it's odd, but I'm kind of getting used to it. And I just want to say, before we get started, I got to get you into your virtual silly bone. Yeah, so let's just take a moment and take a deep breath. Inhale. Hold it. And exhale. Oh yeah, good. We're going to make that virtual connection. Oh yeah. Now, wherever you are, look at somebody and say, Foo la la. Foo la la. Yeah. Now, let me show you some foo la la fun faces. Because sometimes we just need a brain break from the computer and all this shelter in place. So, everybody, let's try this. Show me your foo la la fun face. Eyebrows up. Eyebrows up. Good. Now keep the eyebrows up and make a big smile. Yeah. Now say foo la la. Foo la la. Yeah. Good, 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 good. Keep the smiles up big. Eyebrows come down. Eyebrows come down. Pretend the sun is in your face. You're happy to be outside. Good. Now keep the eyebrows down and bring the smiles down like a frown. Now I'm making a clown sad face. Good, 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 good. Can you add the shoulders? Add those shoulders. Good, good, good. And these are good wrinkle-free exercises too. Working the face. Good. Shake it out. Good, 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 good. Now, oh, wait a minute. Let me see your glitching face. Show me, you know how sometimes we're on the computer and it just goes. Yeah, everybody try a glitch face. Oh. Oh. Yeah, good, 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 good. Oh, now I think you're ready for some foo la la fun. Good, good, good. So let me get my music and we get started. Oh yeah, good. Oh yes, good, good. Oh yes, good.
Well, my feet can't fail me now. 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 Say what? My feet can't fail me now. 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 My feet can't fail me now.
Oh yeah.
My feet can't fail me now. My feet can't fail me now. Say feet can't fail me now. My 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 feet can't fail me now.
Okay. Sound check. Body drum microphone. Hey. How you get so big? Oh. Easy. Okay. Oh. Sound check. Ooh. Ooh. Oh. Oh yes. Sound check. Good. Oh, oh yeah. Yes. Okay. Body drum. Oh yes. Oh, ow. Hey, easy. Sorry. Okay. Oh yes, good. Oh yes, good. Hambone. Ooh. Oh yes, good. Ooh, hand jive. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Good. Oh, yucky. Oh no. Double time.
Amazing. I know that you were hailed by the New York Times for your Hambone skill. It's incredible to see you do that body percussion. It's wonderful.
Oh, here's my mark. Thank you. Oh, sit down. Okay. Over here.
Yeah, take a breath. Take that big deep breath.
that mindful breath.
Mindful breath, right? Well, catch your breath and tell us about Hambone. It's such an amazing art form. Tell us how you came to do this and how it started.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to say, I'll come right back to that question. I first want to say thank you to the Marsh for allowing me to perform and present. I believe this is my 6th year doing shows for the Marsh. And now that we're in this kind of like this new normal for a while, that I'm just very grateful to have the opportunity to be here, perform, and share. So thank you to the Marsh. Thank you to Stephanie Weissman. And thank you for Gail for inviting me to talk about the work that I do. So Hambone, where you been? Around the world and back again. Hambone, who's your tribe? African people all mixed inside. Hambone, where's the rhythm come from? The soul inside of the drum and the people are one. Soul inside of the drum and the people are one. So the story goes, what I've been told, because in African history is very oral. Not a lot of things are always written down. But body percussion, hambone, patent juba dance, tap dance, these are all origins of African influences. And so enslaved Africans who were brought from West Africa to the Americas, to North America, Central America, South America, the warrior drummers who played drums like the djembe, they were not allowed in our country to play drums because white colonizers knew that African drummers knew how to communicate through the drum. So the drum was not allowed to be played. Also, as part of stripping away the culture. And what grew out of that was those drummers who were not allowed to play the drums, they went back to the body. They went back to that something that's inside the soul that speaks to, this is something I want to do. This is something I want to create. This is something that's healing. And, those enslaved Africans, those who I stand on their shoulders, my ancestors, our ancestors, they survived a horrific time in our country. And so body percussion, hambone, clapping the hands, singing songs on those the one day off during slavery times, this was a way for enslaved Africans to connect, to rejoice, and to say that you can take away my drum, but you can't take away something that I feel inside. And so there we talk about the resilience. There we talk about finding ways to heal from a very horrific and very traumatizing experience. So hambone grew out of that. And I learned hambone in Berkeley, California when I was 15 from some kids in my neighborhood who were about 10. And one day I came outside and they were just jamming and they taught me how to play my body like a body drum called hambone.
Ah, how fantastic. Did you say your father used to do it as well?
Yeah, my father did hambone. It's funny, hambone is kind of like rap music. Depending on where you live, you sing it a certain way or you played it a certain way. Just like rap music today sounds way different than rap music 10 years ago. And 10 years ago sounds way different than 20 years ago. Well, hambone was kind of the same way. And my father said that when he used to do hambone, it was kind of like, in a way of like playing the dozens and challenging each other with rhythmic framing and saying things while you did the hambone and kind of upping each other, who could play it the best, who could say maybe the funniest thing with the hambone. And then I had the experience to travel throughout the country in the 90s. And I was performing at a lot of community colleges. And I was performing down in the South. And I met folks, African-American folks who did hambone, who would come up to me and say, I used to do hambone when I was a kid, and we used to sing it like this. And so what that told me was, depending on where you grew up and where you lived, you were playing it and singing songs about what was going on in your neighborhood, And so hambone has evolved. You might see what's more popular today is something called step dancing or steppin'. You'll see that in a lot of the African-American black colleges. The fraternities and the sororities do body percussion in a different light, which all grew out of hambone and patent juba, I should say.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you for explaining that, and it's just so beautiful. It's a beautiful art form, and
Thank you.
you do it exquisitely. And
Thank you.
we have lots to talk about, but I do want to take a moment to
Yeah.
remind our audience that posted in the chat is the link to the tip jar, and your tax-deductible support is indeed needed and much appreciated to keep the MarshStream platform open to our communities during this time of isolation and theater closure. I think about 70% of Marsh funding comes through ticket sales, and for this, we're counting on your support. And also, we encourage your comments and your questions from the audience.
Yeah.
Kristen will help us keep an eye on that. So don't hold back. The chat was closed during the performance, but it's open now. And I see that there's some wonderful comments to you. It's so great to see Derique, Lance. We performed together in Taiwan. This is from Marty Kate, is it?
Oh, I know
yeah.
Marty.
Performed together in Taiwan, and you met at Camp Win a Rainbow.
Yep. Camp Rainbow.
I at Marty Kate. Yeah, you do. You are awesome, he says. So how wonderful to get one of your co-performers in there.
Yeah.
And hooray, Derique. Natasha Kaluza says, love you. Hooray, Derique. It's wonderful. You definitely have friends in the audience here.
Thank you.
So you had said your show has played annually at the Marsh since 2015.
Yes.
And I'll remind everyone, and I think we'll put up in the chat about the performance that's going to be coming up on December 27th at 2 p.m. And sometimes when you do your show, you lead you do juggling and Hambone workshop for kids, do you?
Yeah, not only am I a performer, but I've always felt I like to teach what I know, whether I'm teaching the history of Hambone or teaching how to play your body like a drum, but also teaching juggling. And because I've been trained as a juggler, and I used to perform as an acrobat in the Pickle Family Circus, San Francisco's Pickle Family Circus in the 80s. And when I was part of the organization, we used to teach circus arts in the program and make a circus. So not only do I love performing, but I love to teach, and I love to see kids or big kids who are older in age get those moments of like, wow, that's how you do it. Oh, I had no idea. Seeing people get that aha moment and learning something is just so genuine and so beautiful. And so having those moments, I get touched too in that way. And so now that it feels like there's a mutual expression happening between the both of us, or me and a whole class, and I wouldn't trade that for the world. So I do teach one of the organizations here in Oakland, in West Oakland. There's an after-school circus arts program called Prescott Circus Theater, and I've been an artist in residence with them, I think going on 23 years of teaching the Hambone and various forms of circus arts.
Mm-hmm. Now, you started all this, you said you were 15 when you first started learning the Hambone, and you were with Circus a la Mode, was it?
Yeah, Circus a la Mode. That was my first clown teacher, Arena Isaacson, who inspired me. Let me tell this story. Now, my influences as a performing artist grew from my mother and my grandfather and my dad. My dad taught me, which I call the Donald Duck sneeze. I learned that from my dad. My mother was studying dramatic arts, getting her bachelor's degree at UC Berkeley. So I was always performing in her theater groups, teaching acting for kids. And when I was when I was in those classes, I sort of got the bug of performing. But you know what? It even goes back before that, because before my mother was even teaching classes, there's footage of our family, my mom, my younger brother, and I, playing, dancing in front of the camera, expressing ourselves. We used to do fun faces, which I do in clowning, is, the eyebrows up, the smiles up big. We used to practice making funny faces. So those influences stayed with me. And so, yeah, I've been doing it for a long time. And there was those influences when I was a kid. I just found when I met with Arena. I was going to tell that story. So I was 15 in my bedroom, and I had this cap on my head. this plastic cap that plugged into the wall. It was something to do with putting rollers in your hair and then putting this cap on, but it was a soft cap and it would heat up. Well, I had the cap on. I didn't have rollers in my hair, but I had the cap on, and I used to sit there and act like I was being charged up to be a dancing robot or something. One day, Arena was visiting my mother because they worked together in a community arts organization, and Arena saw me doing this in my room and thought it was funny and told me about her clown class. Now, when she shared about the clown class, I was like, clowning? Oh my God, that sounds kind of crazy, you know. But I took the class, and I was around other kids, learning how to juggle, do gymnastics, and perform clowning, and embodying being physical and being funny and learning slapstick and gags. And I thought, this speaks to me. And so I've been doing it ever since.
Oh, that's fantastic. We had Ross Travis on here a couple months ago, and I think you know him as well. Anyway, he has a show, Tempting Fate, that we had on a couple months ago.
Oh, wonderful.
But so how did you? So you worked with Circus a la Mode, and then joined the Pickle Family Circus.
Yeah.
And then how did you? You've done so many things. You first of all, who are some of your influences that to get involved?
Okay.
With this.
Well, Arena Isaacson was my first clown teacher. That was one of my biggest influences. And then when I joined the Pickle Family Circus, I had the pleasure of, and right around that same time, I was watching a lot of Charlie Chaplin films, Buster Keaton, and I was doing research on Burt Williams, the first African American to perform on Broadway, unfortunately in blackface. I did a lot of research, so he was one of my influences too. Understanding the type of racism and oppression that he was going through, but his resilience to be a comic genius, which never really got recognized, but at the same time, he was performing when Charlie Chaplin was making all these wonderful films. Burt Williams was being paid, not making it nearly as much money. Those three were influences. And then when I joined the Pickle Family Circus, Larry Pizzoni was a big influence, Jeff Hoyle, Bill Irwin, and actually, I don't know, if we could pan on the camera, those shoes on the wall over there, those clown shoes, I think we're going to get the camera to go pan over there. Those clown shoes belong to Bill Irwin. He gave me those clown shoes when I first met him. I helped him move some big trunks when he was moving from San Francisco to New York to do his one-man show, Regatta Flight. And so in my show here at home, I thought, you know what? I'm going to hang up some Bill Irwin shoes for my Foolala Home for the Holidays show. So those are Bill Irwin clown shoes.
Oh, that is fantastic. Wow. What a great treasure.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So all those folks were big influences.
Fantastic. And then you were touring. I mean, at the same time, I want to be able to talk about your work with the schools. But first, you were. I know you've worked in Harlem's Storied Apollo Theater, and you've collaborated with Bobby McFerrin, with the Temptations, and you were at the Paramount even with Sammy Davis Jr., the Oakland Paramount, were you?
Yeah. That was a great honor. Back in the 80s, the Paramount Theater, Oakland, California, used to host what was called the African American Film Awards, and they always had variety acts part of the celebration. And so the day that Sammy Davis Jr. was being honored to receive an award, I was one of the acts to perform before he accepted his award. And so he saw me do my Hambone act, and I did this gag that comes out of the Pickle Family Circus where I was inside of a trunk, and the trunk would scoot out on stage. And I'm inside making this thing travel, and then I had all these little trap doors, and I would undo the latches of a trunk, kick open the door, do a backwards roll out because of my acrobatic skills back then, and close the trunk and start jamming on Hambone. And anyways, long story short, I met him backstage. He shook my hand and complimented my act, and it was just really a sweet moment. And it's moments like that when I remember it that I just carry in my heart I'm grateful to have that opportunity. And I've watched a lot of Sammy Davis Jr. films. I've read his books, Why Me, and him talking about the oppression and the traumas and things that he was going through. So I would have to say that's another influence, and watching him tap dance and and he used to do the impressions, and he used to twirl pistols, and not that it's appropriate anymore, that kind of thing. But that was kind of like a form of juggling, so that fit right with me. Manipulating, like I was twirling the cane earlier. Those are influences from Sammy Davis Jr. That cane is an influence from the Three Eddies back in the 20s, who performed tap dancing in blackface with big white lips, dehumanizing African American culture. Not that they wanted to, but if you wanted to work on stage, if you wanted to get paid, that's what you did to survive in our country, unfortunately. But seeing footage of them, twirling these canes, twirling around their bodies, jumping into splits, catching the canes and coming back up. So I have a lot of influences.
Yeah.
In a small way, I'm trying to emulate a little something.
Yes, I always loved Sammy Davis Jr. too. And you spoke earlier too of the Nicholas brothers, who were just so incredible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. The run up the wall backflip. The Nicholas brothers, and jumping over each other down these steps in stormy weather. So
They're fantastic.
Go on
and your juggling skills are just incredible. I think about, how ambidextrous you have to be able to do, the way you flip the hat with such perfect dexterity. And
Thank you.
Beautiful.
I always tell my students and anyone that I'm teaching, the more you practice, the better you get your body, your muscle memory. You're developing your muscle memory, and that just comes from repetitive, practicing. And so you all out there watching this and you all out there not watching this, you can learn how to do this. It just takes practice.
Oh, that's great. So you did all of this, and then you started traveling. You've been in South Africa, Scotland, Taipei, London. Tell us about some of your travels.
Yeah. In the past, being an artist, you're trying to grow, you're trying to expand, and you're trying to travel and get out there. And so, so I've worked with various artists like Marty Kate that commented earlier saying hello. That was probably one of my first travels, going to Taiwan to perform. I had this act that I don't do it as much anymore, but I built a bodysuit that has sensors in it. And when I do Hambone, I'm actually playing electronic drums. And it was that act that I built back in the late 80s, almost in the 90s, right around that time, when drummers, what was created was something called a drum trigger. And you take a trigger and you put it on a drum set. And if you had a bunch of these triggers plugged into a drum machine, while you hit the drum, you also triggered a electronic drum sound.
Okay.
Well, a wonderful a group of jugglers called the Flying Car Motsofs, who I got to work with on Broadway, performing in the Comedy of Errors. One of the jugglers, not in that particular show, but Howard, he had this bodysuit with sensors all over his body, and he would juggle and hit these triggers playing drums while juggling. And I was doing Hambone in that show, so I put two and two together. I was like, okay, I'm going to build me a suit. So I built the suit and started developing the act. And so meeting up with different agents and other performers who were booking international stuff, because that act was very unique and different. I got to travel to various places that you had mentioned, performing the electronic bodysuit that I call Digital Derique.
Wow, Digital Derique. Oh, great,
Yeah.
Great. So Bobby McFerrin, Temptations, Laura Nero, Tuck and Patty, Lou Rawls, boy, amazing people that you've worked with. And then I want to note that Amy Zins has a message to you. She said she and her family have been fans of yours and Hambone talent since she was a kid and taught it to her sister, Tracy.
Yep. Tracy, guys. I met Tracy. She was doing a kids program on KPFA, listener-sponsored radio in Berkeley. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, Amy. All right.
And you've been on, let's see, short stories and tall tales. So many things. And then, so how did you start to get involved? You were program director also for an arts camp at Children's Fairyland, and an artist in residence with Prescott Circus Theater, and also with Bread and Roses, which is wonderful. Mimi Farina's organization that would performers in
Yeah.
hospitals in all different locations.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fabulous.
Yeah.
So, how did you get involved in being a counselor, and how
Yeah.
did this
Yeah. Yeah.
come about in your life?
Yeah. Well, about 10 years ago, no, probably about 15 years ago, in my 30 something, getting close to 40, I think, I was thinking, like, physical comedy and juggling and the wear and tear on the body, I better have a backup career. So I thought, and when I heard somebody talking about drama therapy, I thought, okay, that light bulb, I think I could do that. And when I applied for the California Institute of Integral Studies in San Francisco, CIIS, and they have a drama therapy program, and I applied and I got in and learned a lot about healing, learned a lot about my own healing, and learned a lot about denial and family systems and trauma and drama. And I was like, oh my God, had no idea that it starts with me. The healer, heal thyself. So anyways, I got my master's in counseling psychology / drama therapist. And then I started working doing mental health. I was a mental health clinician in Oakland with the East Bay Agency for Children, who I still work for, but I work in a different capacity as a wellness consultant. But I was counseling kids and, helping them out and using drama therapy practices. And
What are some of those drama therapy practices?
oh gosh, with drama therapy, the beauty of drama therapy is let's get up on our feet and let's play out some of the material that's bothering you right here, right now. So we get to do role plays. I would say to my clients, I would say, like, okay, I see that you're really mad at the teacher, and I hear what you're saying. Let's do some role plays. Tell me what they say that gets you wound up, and then I just want you to notice when I say it, what are you feeling? How are you breathing? What are you noticing? And just taking a moment to slow things down, and then let's flip the script. I'll be you. You be the teacher, so you see it from a different perspective. And that was great playing with kids, because kids are more eager to, like, play with the unplayable in some way. There was phone techniques that I would do, pretending like this was a telephone, and we would practice leaving a message to the person who maybe said something harmful, and this was a way of them getting it out in a way. And then I would whisper in their ear and tell that person, how did it make you feel? Right? And so those are some of the techniques that I learned. And it's really using a lot of theatric modalities and skill sets from a therapeutic perspective, and the integrating of two. So I love drama therapy. And
we have a question here that what do you think the greatest barrier to people finding mindfulness and playfulness?
Yeah. Our ego. Ego gets in the way. We have these belief systems that get in the way that we are attached to. And, with mindfulness, which, let me just say this, mindfulness in our country is getting so kind of whitewashed in a way, the way that it's being projected image-wise. But mindfulness is just a small part of a deeper spiritual practice that goes back to India. And so I just want to say that there's more to mindfulness and the spiritual practice of meditation and Buddhism that in our country we really don't recognize or practice. But mindfulness is learning, having the ability to recognize, have some acceptance, the willingness to let go, the willingness to take ownership, the ability to recognize, am I still thinking about something in the past of my own stress, my own trauma that's playing out right here, right now, that I might not be conscious of, but where the unconscious is running the show? And my conscious mind has a defense mechanism called justification, rationalization, and mixing with the ego. So the complexities of all of our narratives have a function that kind of perpetuates the challenge. And so in therapeutic practice, or even guided meditations, one can learn to recognize and do your own work, do our work, where the self-inquiry is to recognize, like, I know I'm not really getting what I want, and I'm recognizing that this is a challenge, that's a challenge. The dynamic goes over and am I doing something that's perpetuating that challenge, that stressful experience that I'm receiving? So to kind of answer that question, it's complex, and I always say to the teachers who I do check-ins with, wellness support check-ins with, one is to recognize the challenge is hard, yeah, and then also recognize that taking baby steps of identifying the challenge and being gentle on yourself, because it's a process. If here I am in my 50s recognizing that I have some discomfort around something, I've learned that a long time ago, and I'm not just going to flip overnight and that's going to be like, oh, I don't have that issue anymore. It's going to be a process of working through that issue where I'm now becoming more detached, learning more not to take it personally.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of the process, all kind of mixed in there together.
Mm-hmm. So you've worked with universities and different, but your main work now is with middle school, is it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tell us about how that
is. So I work for one school. I'm funded through, I work for East Bay Agency for Children in Oakland, and they applied for a grant through the Kaiser Permanente called the Resilience Initiative, and brought me in to do wellness support and trauma-informed practices to work at a school where the school that I work at is working to be more trauma informed. And so I do trainings on trauma and how to build relationships with students. And now that we're all on this new normal for a while, what does trauma informed practices look like through the camera? And there's so much going on, dynamics that teachers are unaware of. So I do a lot of trainings that, if a student, we always say in the practice of trauma-informed practices, if a child is behaving a certain way, there's a good reason. Mm-hmm. Okay? Give the benefit of the doubt that something's going on. They're not always trying to be disruptive. There's a reason why they're being disruptive. There's a reason why they're not feeling safe. We all want to feel safe. So what I do is I work with the teachers to be more trauma-informed. I do trainings. I do guided meditations for all our staff meetings. And I do wellness support check-ins. And the fact that I work at the school, even though I'm at home working through Zoom at the school, I do check-ins with teachers. I meet up with between 10 and 20 staff members for wellness support check-ins, and I'm supporting them on their vicarious trauma, compassion, fatigue, having that balance, making sure that you're taking care of yourself, because you can only give what you got, also, and what you are aware of. So I do a lot of wellness support that way, and I teach classes to the staff members. So I have a Turn It Up Tuesday, class that I teach, and I have a Turn It Up Thankful Thursday class. And those are guided meditations, doing stretching in our chairs, building up, building.
We all need that right
now. Strengthening our core, and low impact cardio. Just a 20-minute in and out, and go start your day. So that's kind of how I reinvented myself in this capacity, from my living room, still working at the school, doing things like that. And then at the same time, I work with the San Francisco Jazz organization, teaching their teaching artists to be more trauma informed. So I've been working with them for 3 years with their teaching staff and the administrators for the educational programming through their musical outreach. And they work at the school site where I work at. So I've built a relationship with them, and I'm teaching and supporting those staff members. And I send weekly reminders of self-care practice, building up your immune system. Don't forget to foolala laugh at something, and I do that.
This is for the teachers.
This is for the teachers.
And then giving them the skills to work with the students.
Working with middle school kids, at SFJazz and at the school site. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah.
It's a very unique and unusual position to have a wellness person who's been trained in therapeutic practices and guided meditations. That the beauty of it is that I'm built into the school system, so I get to come doing follow-up trainings where it's needed, and working with the teachers consistently, because unfortunately in Oakland, California, where I live, and in the community that I live in, unfortunately, it's just saturated in trauma. Okay, and there's a reason for that. And there's a long lineage of perpetual trauma that just keeps unfolding, unfortunately. And so the teachers need that extra support, because you could be caring so much and trying to manage the student that you're working with, not even knowing that you're getting compassion fatigued out, you're getting burned out. And all this to say is that over time, there's always has been, unfortunately, a 2 to 3 year turnaround where teachers are like leaving, going to another school because they just can't, they're burned out. So having me there to remind them, take care of yourself. You can only give what you got, and make sure that you're taking care of yourself, replenish, so that you can be there and be as present as possible.
That's great. Our producer has put some resources in the chat, resources for trauma-informed community support from you, the mental health and wellness support services at Kaiser Permanente, which you may need to be a member to access that.
Yeah.
But you can also look at the Clinica, La Clinica.
La Clinica. Yeah, La Clinica in Oakland. Yeah. And I just want to say this also, that, a lot of us are dealing with anxiety, depression, compassion fatigue. There's a new terminology now for what's called Zoom fatigue or Zoom boom fatigue, of being on the computer for so long, and people are feeling, not only working on the computer, teachers are burned out, and other folks who are having to work in this capacity getting burned out. One thing to keep in mind is that when working on the computer so much, the brain is like trying to watch all these little windows that we're not used to seeing. We're used to being together in real time where we can read body language. But now that we're so removed on the computer watching people, that the brain is actually working harder to read social cues. And so that's why also people are feeling fatigued. So it's very important to know that, to have a self-care break, to give that to yourself so that you can take care of yourself. Take a break for a moment, walk away, set the timer for every 1 to 2 hours that that you're going to take a 10 or 15 minute step away and do something different, go outside and get some sun. And I also want to say that because people are dealing, that we're sheltering in what they call shelter in place, but I like to call it shelter in grace. How can you take and create this new normal, and at the same time recognize there's something to be grateful for no matter what? Now I know that every person, might not be thinking like that, and might have lost a job. They're not feeling in a place of gratitude, or having food insecurities, and I totally get that. And at the same time that folks are going through this, really seek out and find someone to talk to so that you can get some tools to take care of yourself. There is a way, but we have to be willing to step up. And, I know for some folks that it's really taboo to like get on the phone and talk to somebody about, what might be challenging in their mind. I think, well, I'm not crazy, but I'm going through some da-da-da. If you're not feeling in that joyful state of your natural place of how you were when you were born, then it's worth making a phone call and exploring, having a conversation, and get some tools to take care of yourself, so that we can manage sheltering in grace a little easier, baby steps, little by little,
Absolutely. It's so wonderful that there's the programs there for you to work with the instructors and the teachers, and so the teachers can work effectively with the kids, because it's middle school is hard enough, let alone at any age, but middle school, and there's so many challenges that are going on, and it's wonderful that the kids have this opportunity to have these tools to work with, and these skills to learn.
Absolutely.
And I love your play on words. You were saying in grace, and I know you said earlier when we were talking something about soul-fisticated. It was soul-fisticated.
Right.
and your purposeful gratitude when I get your notes.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Well, those just kind of come, when I was thinking about my Foolala series of shows, I didn't have this name, and when I heard like something like ooh la la, I thought, oh, let's just make a foolala and then create some kind of a story that goes with that. And so, but we all have our things, and I'm being humble. But I do like to play with words. They just come, and I just tickle myself. And I hope everybody else out there can find ways to tickle yourself. Because you know what? When you do tickle yourself, when you get in that play space and when you can play with the unplayable, that is so healing and powerful in itself, because you're triggering the endorphins and the dopamine. That's a natural chemical inside of you that's going, oh, yeah, this is the feeling good space.
Right.
When you get to that place, that's balancing off any stress or challenges that you might be feeling. You're kind of like massaging that out a little bit. If you can't get into that play space, then it's out of balance. And we're just trying to get back to balance. So find the joy, find the playfulness, create the new norm. What is your new norm? What are you going to do that's, they say when we're sheltering in grace, find something new to learn, right? Find something new to learn. So all of you out there that are at home, and I know folks are like cooking up things, keep doing what you're doing. Find something new to learn. Keep checking in on others, and like they say, we will get through this. I do believe that we will, because human beings are resilient. Just like the enslaved Africans who were like, okay, you take away the drum, okay, then I go back to doing something else. Human beings are very resilient. We know how to adapt, so find your healing ways to adapt to something that's, that you get to benefit from.
Well, thank you. We really need your joy and your skills right now. And this has been great tonight. And the time has gone already so fast. We're at the end of our time. Is there anything and also Stephanie, I notice, is in the audience and says, thanks so much to you, Lance, for the wonderful work that you do. Is there any closing comments you'd like to make?
I would just like to say, keep the foo-la-la within. It starts with you. Keep loving, keep laughing, keep learning, and and come see my show, Foo-La-La, Home for the Holidays, on December 27th at 2:00, and support the Marsh Theater. And you can look up some of my other videos, Unique Derique, that are out there. If you want to look up some other things about me doing Hambone and all kinds of other acts that I do. And I'll see you when I see you. Take good care. Lots of love.
Thank you so much, Lance. And again, there will be the benefit performance on December 27th, the Foo-La-La, Home for the Holidays. Yeah. And also, the Foo-La-La is going to stream this Saturday, December 19th through Sunday, January 3rd at 11 a.m. And there's a link there for info and tickets if you're interested in seeing that during the holidays.
Can I say one thing about that? Can I just say one thing? Mm-hmm. The other shows that I am doing, part of me, because I have this privilege and platform, one way that I'm trying to support my community, our community, is that some of the 10% of those proceeds of other shows that I'm doing through the Foo-La-La series for the winter break, that 10% will be going to the Alameda County Food Bank.
Oh, wonderful.
Really having a hard time, and that's my way of giving, and it's about reciprocity. It's about reciprocity. Of course.
Well, you're giving all the time. Thank you so much for informing us about that. And thank you so much.
Yeah.
So a very special thank you to Lance McGee, aka Unique Derique, for tonight's featured presentation of Home for the Holidays. And there will be you can look for more Solo Arts Heal shows and more at themarsh.org and on the MarshStream and YouTube platform. Yeah. Next week, The Amazing World of Magic and Healing with the incredible Kevin Spencer. Kevin is an award-winning performing artist who, for more than 25 years, toured the world with one of the largest and most successful theatrical illusion productions in the U.S., the recipients of multiple awards. And at the pinnacle of his career, Kevin stepped away from the stage and into classrooms and hospitals as an educator, artist, consultant, and cultural entrepreneur, working to create inclusive communities where everyone experiences an authentic sense of belonging. Because he believes in the inherent dignity of all people and advocates the power of the arts to inspire, transform, and build community. So don't miss us next week. And you may even learn a magic trick or two. Go to his MarshStream page and see what you should bring. I think it involves some coins and a banknote and a couple of paper clips. So we're all going to learn some magic and visit with Kevin Spencer next week. Again, thanks to Unique Derique, aka Lance McGee, and our MarshStream producers, Kristen, Brian, artistic director Stephanie Weisman, and always to our Zoom and YouTube audiences. Look for upcoming shows. And with that, I turn it back over to you, Kristen.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Gail, and thank you, Lance. Thank you for joining us on MarshStream tonight for Solo Arts Heal. We hope you'll put Foo La La on your calendar this December 27th on MarshStream. This is a great show to share with your family, and we feel so lucky to host it year after year. Thanks, everybody, and have a great evening.
It happens, right? You're on your way to a very important meeting.
The right one, and finally, I turn to the place I always turn when I'm utterly lost and desperate.
Can you do something a bit lively? Of course I can.
We need to talk to you right now. We just need a momento. You can do your homework later.
I composed this song in prison. It sounds.
Walking down the street, going to the theater. I mean, I had many breakfasts at Venus, and then I
read a little excerpt from it right now.
Excerpt. I love that word. Excerpt.
And she would call me like from self-help home. She'd go, "They have their Sabbath on Fridays. Did you know that?"
Your ability to be online, pre-check how you look on camera, and also check for glasses. You see how much glare is on the.
Know that we are one.
It sounds like hell, if you know what I mean. But for some reason, we call it living the dream.
Okay, 069, and I don't want any of your smart aleck sex talk that I usually get when I get 069.